Hey, Artie here from Bar Mills. Welcome to the Daily Moose, or in this case, welcome to this kind of a clinic video doing two things this time. Number one, introducing some brand new, not so new items to the Bar Mills line. And number two, discussing how to build these items. After 15 years, it's 15 years in 2015 that Bar Mills has existed. And of course, as you know, we started the whole company with our three-dimensional rooftop billboards. Yeah, there have been companies after us that have imitated what we've done, but we have not actually made a new billboard in many, many years. We moved into this new building in Bar Mills in 2005, and since then I think we've touched upon them once, and we just never pursued it. But this time around we have something new and exciting, and what we are going to do is rediscover and reinvent the original rooftop billboard that we created back in the year 2000. What we're doing here is we are reinventing the billboard. Yes, we have new designs and a few new concepts, but what we are doing is we are actually lowering the price that we had originally 15 years ago. The smaller billboards, and there were always two sizes. One went from N scale to HO, and you would use them for either scale or use them for forced perspective. The other size we recommended from HO to S scale to O scale, and here again it was up to the modeler. If you wanted to force a perspective on a scene, even if you were an O scale, you could use the N to HO size. If you wanted something foreground, of course, you'd go for the larger size. What we've done is we've introduced not one or two, but four different 3-packs. Is that right? 3-packs of billboards. And the whole idea is you buy a pack of billboards, and where they used to run about $10 a piece, that's my phone, where they used to run about $10 a piece, on the smaller size, now you can get 3 for $19.95 retail. That's under $7 a billboard. The larger sizes used to go for about $12 to $14 each. Now they're 3 for $24.95, which runs out to, wow, about $8 a billboard. Big savings, same product, different titles to give you some variety. Quick to put together and really, really useful, not only in city scenes, but in any scene, and certainly for using a forced perspective technique to help your railroads look larger and your dioramas look visually larger as well. On your screen we'll be flashing some photos of some of the new products. 4 different billboard packages, 3 different billboards in each of the packages, and 2 different sizes. So what we're going to be doing is introducing new billboards with such names as the Checker Cab Company, Chevron Oil Company, Does Detergent, if you remember Does. Buy War Bonds is a billboard we have done before, but we've reformatted it for these new kits. The 5-Cent Cigar Company has been reformatted with all new graphics. It was so popular when we originally put it out about 12 years ago. Flying A Gasoline is another one, and they go on and on. So while I'm doing this talk over here, hopefully you'll be able to spend a moment and see some of these photos on your screen. Now the whole idea here is that these are all available not only through Bar Mills, but through your local hobby shop as well. So keep that in mind. Next up, we're going to be talking about how to build these, and in a second video, how you can use them to introduce forced perspective to your modeling efforts. This is what the new packaging for these billboards look like. It's a blister pack, and as you can see, it has a lot of our familiar Bar Mills characters on the front of it. And each of these packages contains not 1 but 3 billboards. It may be a little difficult to tell in the video, but this is kind of a greenish hue, and it's a little different color because this features the N to HO scale size, where the yellower package over here, as far as the printing goes, features the size that we'd use in HO scale, in S scale, and in O scale. So this essentially is what you'll get when you're looking to get one of these new packages of billboards. Construction is very, very simple, and we're going to actually do this right here on this video. So if you give us a couple minutes, these only take about 3 or 4 minutes to build, and we're going to show you how easy it is right here. Keep in mind what you're going to need here is very, very minimal as far as assembly goes. What you will need is a can, and if you have an airbrush, that's great because we prefer airbrushes, but in this case, honestly, we used cans of paint ourselves. This is called Touch and Tone. This is an alternative to the Walmart brand paint that we always use. Walmart markets under the name Color Place. We love their paint. It's only about $1 a can. The cheapest paint is the best paint when you're dealing with this kind of thing. We use 2 cans of paint because what we do is we have a gray primer, which is our initial go-to paint that we use on every Bar Mills kit regardless. And then in this case, because the lettering on most billboards is white, we actually have a spray can of flat white. That's flat white. You can call it primer or just call it flat white, but you're going to want to have this handy as well. The other things you will need is you will need an X-Acto knife, okay? This one here we got from the Tool Man. Many of you may know him from the train shows. You will need some glue, always yellow glue, whether it's Tite Bond or Elmer's in this case. Very important. Stay away from the white glue on these. Yellow glue has a little more flexibility and will help them be a little bit more sturdy because these are essentially pretty fragile once they're built. And in this case we have, a couple of small sticks. This is simply to apply the glue onto the billboards as they're being built. So this here is the essential package of tools that you will need. One X-Acto knife, a stick, a couple cans of paint, and of course some wood glue. What we're going to do, first things is first, is open up the package here in front of us, and we're just using a knife to slit around the foam base in the package and remove, kind of stuck on there a little bit, remove the clamshell. Now in the top, the first thing you see is the graphic, but the graphic opens up to instructions that show how to build each of the billboards within the kit. Simple exploded views, very minimal because they're very simple to build. What you'll find in the package for each graphic is a laser cut sheet that entails an entire billboard. Anything from the face to the words to the legs. And in this case, it's Does Soap, it's the Checker Cab Company, and it's the Chevron guy for the Chevron Oil Company. Now in this case, you'll also notice that one of the legs came free by itself. We cut these so they are removable very quickly, but what you want to make sure is that you don't lose any, so we want to make sure we put that on the side. Also in every kit you'll find some color graphics. These are not decals, these are printed on a special vinyl and what we call contour cut. So all you have to do with these is lift them, peel them, and stick them into position when the time comes. What we've decided to do for the demonstration here is use the 5-cent cigar billboard. This is an HO to S to O scale billboard, a little bit larger than the package we had originally opened, but for photographic reasons we felt this would make a better demonstration. So here again you have the basic billboard, which includes the billboard, the overlay lettering, which you have here, here, and here, the billboard legs, and a package of graphics. Now in this case, this particular graphic is this one here in the package. What we're going to do is do something a little bit unusual. What we're going to do is put aside the graphics for a second, and using the X-Acto knife, look for not the overlay so much, but as the billboard and the legs that go under it. And all you're going to do is lightly take your X-Acto, run your X-Acto through the little connecting screws that are built into each panel. And what you'll see is, with almost no effort at all, there's the panel has been released. The other thing now to do is go back and line up the, not one leg, but in this case, most of the billboards have 3 legs. So there's leg number 1. Whoop, that's okay, doesn't hurt anything. Leg number 2. And leg number 3 is coming up. Now normally what we do is we tell you to prime things before you remove them from the sheet, but in this case that's not the instance. It's not the case in this case. Maybe that's the way to say it. What we want to do is we want to make sure that not only the faces and the backs are painted, but also that the edges are painted, and you cannot do that if these components are within their own sheets. So what we're going to do is take the legs. Normally you'd naturally have, and we face this backwards so you know, you'd have a leg to the extreme, and then in the middle. And all of these legs have these little protruding tabs right there on them. The tabs do 2 things. Number 1, they're alignment tabs to help you make sure the legs are all level when you add them to the billboard. And number 2, they actually support the billboard as far as structurally. So what we're going to do is take some yellow glue. Now we haven't opened this one yet this morning, so we're going to try to get some out of here. But I'm going to use the top of the packaging, which is plastic, to put the glue into, because the glue does not want to adhere to a surface like this, as opposed to, say, a piece of paper where it'll absorb into the paper and dry, and you'll end up wasting a lot of glue that way. So what we're doing is making a little puddle of glue, going to grab one of the sticks that we had before. I'm going to face this towards me so I can see it better. And I'm going to take the stick with a little glue and just paint a strip of glue on the upper surface of the leg. Then take the leg, remove any glue with your finger like that, any excess glue. Take the leg and slide it from the bottom going up. And when it stops, it's in alignment. It's automatic because of that little nipple I showed you earlier on. So you have one, you count to the middle of the, you look for the upright in the middle of the billboard. Regardless of the billboard, there's always some kind of a middle that can be found. So 1, 2, and then leg number 3 here. Again, you can wipe off any excess glue, you get it on your hand, and you keep a little bead on the actual leg. 3. Now what you've done is you've applied 3 legs. They're all perfectly level, and we're going to let this dry, not because we have to take a break, but simply because the glue will take 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to dry before we can continue with the next step. Okay, what we have here at this point is the completed billboard with the legs, the face, and the lettering sitting on the side. Now, normally we would have pre-painted everything, at least pre-primed it with the Walmart Color Place Gray, or in this case, the Touch and Tone primer, and this is the primer gray. But if we had done it in the sheet, we would not have gotten the edges of the legs, and that's kind of important, as well as the inner surfaces that would not have been exposed. Next step is simple. Shake the can of paint, and here again, the cheaper paint is the best paint in this particular case. Have a good piece of craft paper or something under here for this, and we're going to prime everything. And it's just a matter of running a little paint through the can, and then misting over the top of the billboard, and from the side in this case, and then flipping it over. Kind of a neat little project. Hitting the back of the billboard, and in effect painting the inner surfaces, because with primer paint everything does get hit. Nothing stays exactly where you're pointing it. And then second coating will be fine. Now in this case, this color here is actually what we use for the finished billboard. We apply no other coats of paint to this. I'm going to put that aside, grab the lettering, and the lettering is going to be white, but this is basswood. It's porous, and painting plain white on top of porous basswood, the wood will absorb the paint and leave the white very insipid. It'll just sink into the paint and look almost like natural wood as opposed to a crisp white lettering. So this is what we do here. So here we have the entire billboard painted. Here we have the lettering painted, or at least the first coat painted. The next step will be to give this a few minutes to dry, and then go back and hit this with white paint. Because of the low quality of the paint we're using, and here again it's great for model railroading purposes, but you don't want to paint furniture or your home with this stuff because it's just not up to that standard. But it dries very quickly, coats very smoothly, and does not tend to warp wood as regular brushing might, where you can easily oversaturate the wood with moisture. We're going to go to the white can of primer or paint, or it says flat white, which is what it is exactly. And the billboard being put aside, we're going to focus on the pre-primed lettering components. The word cigar, the number 5, and the cent sign. And all we're going to do is make sure the can is clear, so we're spraying actual pigment and not just carrier, and lightly go over the lettering. And there you have it. Now, at this point, this will take a little bit longer than the gray to dry. So we're going to just put a halt to everything. That's what you have. We're going to put a halt to everything. Give it maybe 5 minutes and come back, apply the lettering, apply the graphic, and finish the sign. Okay, now it's time to complete the billboard. What we have is the completed billboard frame that was primered gray and left alone. We have the lettering, which was also primed gray while still in its sheet, and then primed with a light spray of flat white. Most billboards, you're going to want to use white for the lettering. On occasion, other colors will appear, but white is the most visible and actually works the best in our opinion. So now that this is dry, what we're going to do is look for those little nipples or sprues, whatever you want to call them, that hold the lettering into the background surrounding sheet. Now in this case, here's the scent sign by a little nip and a little nip, and you want to be careful with doing this. You'll see that this pulls out beautifully, nice and crisp and clean the way it should be. Anytime you get a kit that you work on that has to be hacked away and chopped away and sawed at just to remove components, you know you don't have a very high quality product. It's always important here at the shop that everything that we do comes out as cleanly and as crisply as possible. So what I'm just doing is I'm looking for the little sprues. I saw one here, I saw one there. I don't know if I missed any on this one. Let's try to gently push it out and see what happens. There you go, the 3 banks of lettering. Now what we're going to do is glue the lettering onto the sign. Now it's pretty obvious where the lettering goes, so we're back to our glue. I put a little fresh dab in there. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take the most obvious component, the number 5, the numeral 5 in this case, and using the same stick, just tap it and lightly cover the back. It's not important that you overglue this. It's not really structural. But what's going to happen is when you put pressure against the number 5 in the background, the glue will want to squeeze out. So what you do is you take your finger and you just dab it onto the glue. What you'll be doing is you'll be lifting some of that glue onto your finger, which you can get rid of pretty easily, and we'll be able to just place it just like we have, like that, into position and let it dry. Now that my phone has stopped ringing, which happens here at the shop, we get a lot of that, we're going to do the same thing. Here again, if you notice, I'm just dabbing the glue. It's not important that it's covered, that it covers the surface 100%. When you take your finger and you go like this, you're going to be spreading it around and giving it a nice, very thin, even coat, and the glue is easily removed by just rubbing your fingers together. Now this sign has a little unique property to it. Many of the lettering styles that we have are cut just exactly to the letter. In this case, you notice there's a little border around the outside. That's just an effect we incorporated into this specific billboard. You'll notice the whole word cigar is still registered because it has these little tiny connectors. We do not ever remove those connectors. Can you? Sure you can. But you want to make sure you're using a sharp knife, and you want to make sure your letters are very secure before you start taking everything apart. Here again, the amount of glue is minimal. It's just a matter of trying to get a good surface-to-surface coverage, and here again, the key to it is blotting it with your finger, just like that. And when we lay this in, this is what you have, and all you have to do is align it to the pre-cut outlines that are in the sign. That sign is all but done. The final step in assembling a sign is adding the graphic. Now in this particular 3-pack of billboards, we have an Uncle Sam Wants You billboard, a Flying A billboard, and the 5-cent cigar billboard. And this is the graphic, and as you can see, it readily aligns with the graphic that's printed or already laser cut into the billboard surface. These are sealed packages in here, and these are not decals. There's no water, there's no sliding, there's no application. As we all know, decals do not work very well on top of wood. So what we have here is 3 graphics. Any of them can be lifted, and sometimes you may find them a little lifted already in the pack. Don't be concerned about that. And all you have to do is get under the decal with your finger or with a knife I'm trying to show here, and you can actually lift them just like that. Now these are self-adhesive. You can lift them and reposition them if you have to, maybe one time. You don't want to do it too much because of the adhesive on the back will dissipate and you'll lose it, and it'll become unsticky as opposed to sticky, which is obviously what we want. All you have to do is line this up, and of course I'm doing it upside down and with the camera on, so I'm kind of stumbling around here a little bit, on top of the outline under it, and then from the middle, gently, because if you press down you'll break the legs, gently with your fingers, press down, starting from the middle of the graphic and working your way towards the edge to get this look. Now, what took us about 3 or 4 minutes here for one would probably take you no more than 10 or 15 minutes for all three. We don't recommend that you do each billboard individually. The gray primer is universal. The white lettering is almost universal. Some of our signs, actually, we've added additional color to. And of course, the application of the graphics is universal. So this is how it's done. It's quick, it's easy, it's very, very detail oriented. These are not things that you can just make up at home, like taking your knife and chopping into a piece of wood. And they are now available through our retailers. We appreciate you spending a few minutes and seeing how these are done. And we'll be back with another video about these, about how to place them, what scale size you may prefer to use, and where you would want to put them in a scene to get the most visual effect out of them. Thanks again. This is Artie from Bar Mills.